Hi, welcome back to my channel. I haven't done a video in so long and I had to get a new phone and my camera on my phone is terrible, so I'm going to record on my camera and hopefully it will make me make better quality content and also maybe have more sense to my content, because often they're just kind of chucked together at the moment. And I did genuinely go through phases years ago where I did actually plan my videos and they were good to the point where I have watched them back. I'm just looking now because I did make a couple of notes on what I wanted to talk about, and I recorded a couple of random videos recently, and the quality and the audio on them has just been shocking to the point where it's not even watchable on the internet. So camera it is. Also got my cream eggs with me. I'm going to do a bit of a mixed bag really, because I think on different days I'm in the mood to talk about different things depending on the cycle of your lady calendar and where the moon is and things like that, and what supplements you've taken and how annoying your life circumstances are. But today I'm in the mood for a spirituality conversation, because I've done a New Age to Jesus video and it always makes me nervous to talk about spirituality, especially because A, it's such a private thing, and B, it's just like something that not everyone, like lots of people, like people, there's religion to consider, there is obviously individuality, judgment, people getting freaked out of, I mean, at the end of the day I shouldn't really care what people really think on my channel too much, because what I've had happen though sometimes, and this is usually pretty extreme, I'm gonna eat some cream eggs as we go, this is usually pretty extreme spirituality where I come across a channel. I do subscribe to certain spirituality channels, like, let's get real, at the end of the day, like, I have done a disclaimer of New Age to Jesus, and I don't think it's something, like, I think it's something to take care in, and I think it's something to be personal in. I'm not advocating or not advocating it. I've seen negative things in the New Age, but also when you talk about the New Age, that really is based on religion and the concept of religion, talking about aka Catholicism. And what really opened my eyes recently is the idea of past lives, which I definitely buy into now. Is actually a Hindu concept, which is a solid religion and is accepted in many countries, all countries, but specific countries are Hindu dominant. I'm definitely a believer of past lives. So anyway, I'm going to talk about it a little bit because I do subscribe to light language channels on YouTube and Reiki channels. I think with Reiki, I went through a massive phase. I'm just going to look at my subscriptions now. I think I went through a massive phase of going through Reiki and just like doing every single Reiki for health, transmuting this and that and the other. But then I was just like, oh, I had really bad experiences with the New Age because I went high, like I threw myself head first into it, into like a deep dark hole of New Age and spirituality stuff. And I think it's I sort of experienced a few like negative things from it. So I did my New Age to Jesus video. Please watch that if you want. But I swear, most people like that I see on the internet New Age to Jesus videos have probably like gone like hell bent on spirituality, because I find that I sort of dive in and out of it. And also I was brought up religious, so I think it's just natural to unravel my religious conditioning and actually explore like taboo areas. Because I think sometimes religion, especially Catholicism, which I've got experiences with and done a couple of videos on, can be very much like limited to a certain caliber of people. Like even in the Bible itself, it talks about the hypocrites at the synagogues with that mindset of like biblical outlook. I think people, especially now day and age, I judge because they take it way too seriously and literally to the point of homophobia and lack of empathy for people going through difficulty and hardship, and people that like have alcohol problems and stuff, and they call them drunks as a judgment. So that gets under my skin. So it's that sort of thing why I just didn't agree with the church in the first place. But I think the issue also of religion is that it gives you such bad connotations of God, because in every spiritual place, religion, whatever, you're always going to come across God and like the divine. I've seen so much bashing of like different people in spiritual like centers and places, you know, recently, even on like Netflix and stuff like that, where people have avenues for spirituality which are kind of used as a reason to attack them, which is really hard. But obviously people can have their opinions and that's just karma. But also, in my experience, good people will attack good things for no reason. So yeah, so reptilian influence. I probably should do my testimony on aliens at some point as well. That has been something I've wanted to do for a while. Basically, in short, I feel like a few years ago, and it kind of coincided with mental health issues, but I literally did a video on this recently, and like most of the shit that actually bothered me was the fact I was seeing aliens. And to be fair, like lots of people, like, but because it freaked me out that much and it coincided with like some other things, you know, I don't regret my therapy. Well, I didn't actually have therapy, to be fair. I just had oversight apparently by an occupational therapist. But regardless of all of that, I did have experiences with aliens, and it freaked me out. And it was kind of, it kind of opened my eyes, because I think I was a little bit sort of ignorant to the spiritual realm, even though I was a spiritual person and I went to church and stuff. I didn't really think about aliens, and I don't think about aliens really, but I definitely think they exist, and I definitely think I've seen them, and that's interesting to see. There was nothing that bad. They were kind of scary, but I think maybe like I was being kind of rebellious, and I think like God like just allowed me to see them because I was like trying to push shit too hard, and like people have consequences for their actions. So that's kind of why I think that happened. Sorry, I'm just looking at my concepts, but I don't actually want to talk about them now because I'm talking about spirituality. But yeah, I don't know, I do definitely subscribe to light language and stuff. Like I was just watching one a minute ago, and you just feel so much better and sort of like grounded, and whatever the light language is for, be that like transmuting something negative, you know, and releasing it, or like some form of like, in Reiki I used to have like Reiki for like happiness or you do feel better, I definitely think. But it's that sort of, you have to be conscious of, I think, if people, and this is real, like if you are going to dabble in this stuff, it's my experience, you have to be honest with yourself about what you can manage and what you are actually accustomed to dealing with, and also what, because I think this world is so fucking ignorant to, obviously people are at different stages of their, you know, existence and stuff. A lot of people who's believed in spirituality are a lot older in lifetimes, like millions of years older than other people. But I think at a whole, and the way the world can be perceived in our day and age is very, spirituality is false, you know, like aliens don't exist, nothing exists, because we all just have to feed into the fucking third world economy system and like pay our bills and shit, and that's it. And that's really damaging, you know, because at one hand I do understand why everyone's spirituality isn't completely exacerbated to each person. We wouldn't live in a functional society, and that is the truth. But also to live in a world which is so unconscious of spirituality is also challenging, I think. I mean, you know, everyone's conscious of their spirituality to one extent or another, but I think, you know, unless you really seek it out in certain avenues, you know, in spiritual like shops or spiritual teachers and stuff, or the internet, you really don't find a lot to do with it. And I do think certain families and certain places will have a certain type of spirituality that they teach within their families, or what they grow up with, or whatever, and that is perpetuated forward. But a lot of the time, and I think me being one person of that, like you don't really understand spirituality very well, so then you might go too hard in one area and It's just sort of about figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. But I definitely think there's something in it. I like burning incense and stuff. I definitely think there's something in crystals. Like, it's just got to be said, there's got to be something in crystals. And it's not to say like I'll live my life purely around that, but to be aware of it, because it's tricky, because I've seen a lot of videos of like New Age to Jesus, and you know, and I've made one myself, but I tend to just like fall back into it, this type of thing, because I do think there's stuff in it, you know, to be learned. And even just to, on a literal sense, like tarot cards and stuff were actually made to, I'm less to do with tarot at the moment. I think there was a phase of time where I was really into tarot, but it's always something that originally was made as a psychological therapy, like for people to understand themselves and archetypes, and you know, and the moon and whatever the archetypes are, like the Knight of Swords and stuff, like people trying to get something from someone and attack, well, I don't know, like it was just, you know, an avenue for understanding, let's just put it that way. I can't bother to go into all of the cards, but stuff like that. And the word witch actually means wise. I'm not saying I am one necessarily, but you know, it's just something I think to be aware of. And I think some people are more and less spiritual than others, and what really fucks me off is that society at large, and often people and individuals, don't like people that recognize avenues of spirituality because it threatens them. And I think it just comes from a level of narcissism that, you know, understandably we have to live in a world that is functional, but also if one person is lacking the temperance and understanding of something, and they're narcissistic, they will naturally hate on someone else that does, because they're threatened by that superiority that they can't understand, you know. And that really irritates me. And I understand in past lives and future lives I'm not going to have this spiritual knowledge, and I'm not going to be learning about the spiritual knowledge, and my focus, my purpose will be on something else. I'm not saying this is my focus and purpose completely, but I think that I understand that that is going to be my focus and purpose, just like other people are at the moment, and so therefore I'm not rising myself above someone else. But I just think it's really important to recognise those sides of things when needed, because I definitely swear I go through phases of being more and less spiritual, and some days I couldn't care less, and other days I could care less, I could care more, if that's the right way of saying it. But I think it's, yeah, it's definitely a balance that everyone has. So yeah, I don't think there's much more I've got to say on that, but I do want to start making more content around this sort of area again, because I feel like I don't want to castrate myself and the fact human beings are innately spiritual beings, you know. As much as I don't want to jump into like all the new age and like hardcore shit all the time, I also want to be at balance with myself and actually recognise that I am a spiritual being, and I can be a spiritual being regardless of what other people say, as long as I'm doing right with myself and like God, you know. And I don't need to live as an ex fucking church girl the whole of my life. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there because my camera is getting hot and it's not gonna cope. So thanks for listening.